Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. So, we have breaking news out of Virginia, and this one is going to rattle both sides of the political aisle. A senior federal prosecutor is resisting direct pressure from President Trump to charge New York Attorney General Letitia James with mortgage fraud. Yes, you heard that correctly. She's refusing to prosecute James, saying there is no probable cause. Now, depending on which side you're on, this story either proves political bias still runs deep inside the Justice Department or that the system might actually be working. It's very interesting nonetheless. Let's unpack this together. Welcome to Nellie Miranda.
Quote, a top prosecutor in Virginia has informed colleagues that she plans to decline to seek charges against New York Attorney General Tish James, resisting intense pressure from President Donald Trump. That's according to two people familiar with her discussions. Elizabeth Yusi, who oversees major criminal prosecutions in the Norfolk office of the Eastern District of Virginia, has confided to coworkers that she sees no probable cause to believe that James engaged in mortgage fraud, the two sources told MSNBC. Yusi plans to present her conclusions to the president's new acting U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, in the coming weeks, they said. Halligan, keep in mind, is new to her position because her predecessor, Eric Siebert, followed a similar path. He resigned after he refused to bow to Trump's pressure campaign to criminally indict Jim Comey and James, despite knowing that there wasn't enough evidence to bring successful cases against either of them. So Halligan, the insurance lawyer, goes in there to do what Eric Siebert would not do.
As always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, so according to reports from MSNBC and confirmed by Newsmax, the prosecutor's name is Elizabeth Yusi. She works in the Norfolk office of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia. She reportedly told her colleagues that she sees no legal grounds to bring charges against Letitia James. And this gets better. Her team is afraid that she could be fired or sidelined for refusing to bend. So that's exactly how politically charged this whole thing has become. Now remember, Letitia James is the same New York Attorney General who sued Trump and his company, accusing them of inflating assets. She built her entire political brand on going after Trump.
Following a comprehensive 3-year investigation by my office, including witnesses, interviews with more than 65 witnesses, and review of millions of documents that were submitted by Mr. Trump and others, I am announcing that today we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company. The complaint demonstrates that Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself and to cheat the system, thereby cheating all of us. He did this with the help of the other defendants, his children, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump.
We all remember, we did not forget. So when allegations surfaced that she herself might have falsified mortgage documents, you would think that the Justice Department would jump at the chance for equal enforcement. But now, the tables have turned, and suddenly, no probable cause is the phrase of the day. UC reportedly plans to submit her findings to Lindsay Halligan, the newly appointed interim U.S. attorney who was selected by Trump himself. And this is where things could get even more interesting. Halligan has the power to override her decision, but doing so could explode into a constitutional crisis. Now, this whole situation exposes how prosecutorial discretion can become a shield for political allies. We have seen aggressive prosecutions for far less when it involves ordinary Americans. And now we're told there is not enough evidence to even indict a sitting AG accused of mortgage fraud. That double standard is blaring and public trust is gone. I have very, very, very little trust in the system to do the right thing, and it's frustrating. Trump, as usual, didn't stay quiet. He has been very vocal, demanding Letitia James be charged and removed, calling her one of the most corrupt officials in America. 2 days ago on Truth Social, he posted the article of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac leaving New York due to Tish James' corruption, and this is what he had to say. He says, corrupt Letitia James is costing New York State hundreds of billions of dollars in lost business. No company or individual wants to be there knowing that she's the Attorney General. She is a complete and total disaster who tried running against Kathy Hochul for governor and only got 1% of the vote in the polls and quit. She then went back to her witch hunt against President Donald J. Trump and others. Until this scum is removed from the Attorney General's office, no company will move to New York. And few companies will be using the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ for going public. The new Texas Exchange will be taking all of this business away, and we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, mainstream media outlets are portraying UC as some kind of hero, standing up to authoritarian pressure. But let's be real, if this were reversed and it was a Biden prosecutor refusing to charge a Republican, the same networks would be crying cover up.
A prosecutor who's a supervisor had a job like Mary McCord's was many years ago, overseeing criminal prosecutions for her U.S. Attorney's Office. She concluded that there's just not probable cause to bring the case of mortgage fraud or bank fraud or any kind of fraud against Letitia James based on the documentation and the evidence before her. We're also hearing that in the grand jury, material has been brought forward, witnesses have been asked questions, and her conclusion is the same as Eric Seibert, her former boss, the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District, who said, there's just not a sufficient basis to bring this case. And, you know, Nicole, I want to emphasize something for people at home who aren't lawyers or don't follow this the way you and I do. It is a prosecutor's job and almost their solemn vow to bring cases where they believe they have a very high likelihood of sustaining and convicting on the charges they bring. And in this instance now, multiple people have concluded. Career prosecutors, supervisors, Trump appointees have said, we don't have a basis to do this. So that is why it's so stunning that yet another person is still pushing for this, Donald Trump. And it's also stunning that another person way down in a small, tiny office of the Eastern District of Virginia is willing to put her neck out there and say, this case still doesn't fly.
She's a hero putting her neck out there. I don't know how they're ever going to get about prosecuting ordinary citizens for mortgage fraud. Because if Letitia James is let off the hook, all mortgage fraud cases obviously would need to be reviewed. Unless there's a serious case here of rules for thee and not for me. And since Elizabeth Yusi is so scared of being fired or sidelined, you know what to do, President Trump. Make her wish come true. I'm just kidding. The problem isn't that Yusi's following the law. The problem is that this system never seems to work the same way for everyone. Equal justice under the law shouldn't depend on your party registration. It is easy to say Trump's wrong for pushing, but think about it. For years, we've seen Democrats openly weaponize investigations, drag conservatives through public trials, and leak half-truths to the press. So when conservatives push back and say, hey, why isn't the law being equally applied here? That is not political vengeance. That is demanding fairness. Here's what we have to be honest, though. Trump's public calls for prosecution might not help this case. The optics feed the left's narrative that he wants to politicize justice. But the underlying question remains, why is Letitia James being protected? Why does the DOJ treat every Republican accusation as serious, but every Democrat allegation as a political witch hunt or whatever other term that they use? And again, where's the consistency? If regular Americans falsified mortgage documents, they'd be in jail. So why not Letitia James? If Elizabeth Yusi's decision is truly her acting on principle, then I guess she deserves some respect. But the system she's operating within is broken. Prosecutors shouldn't have to worry about being fired or for following or resisting political directives. And yet, that's where we are. A Justice Department split into political camps. But at the same time, Americans are tired of watching politically connected elites skate by while everyday people face consequences for less. And again, if Elizabeth Yusi truly believes there is no probable cause, she should explain why publicly. Because without sunlight, every decision looks like a cover-up. And right now, that's exactly what it looks like to me. Should Trump back off and let prosecutors do their jobs? Or does this prove that the DOJ is still protecting Democrats? Or at least in general, on both sides? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if honest commentary brings you value, please make sure you like and subscribe to support the channel and ring the bell so you never miss an update. And if you haven't already checked out my last video on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac shutting down their New York offices, it ties right into the same pattern of corruption inside New York's political machine. I'll link it right above.